Rogers was standing by the dining room door. As the three men descended the stairs, he moved a step or two forward. He said in a low, anxious voice, "I hope lunch will be satisfactory. There is cold ham and cold tongue, and I've boiled some potatoes, and there's cheese and biscuits and some tinned fruits." Lombard said, "Sounds all right. Stores are holding out then." "There is plenty of food, sir, of a tinned variety. The larder is well stocked, a necessity that, I should say, sir, on an island where one may be cut off from the mainland for a considerable period." Lombard nodded. Rogers murmured as he followed the three men into the dining room. "It worries me that Fred Narracott has been over today. It's peculiarly unfortunate, as you might say." "Yes," said Lombard. "Peculiarly unfortunate describes it very well. Miss Brent came into the room. She had just dropped a ball of wool and was carefully rewinding the end of it. As she took her seat at table, she remarked, 'The weather is changing. The wind is quite strong, and there are white horses on the sea.' Mr. Justice Wargrave came in. He walked with a slow, measured tread. He darted quick looks from under his brushy eyebrows at the other occupants of the dining room. He said, 'You have had an active morning.' There was a faint, malicious pleasure in his voice. Vera Claythorne hurried in. She was a little out of breath. She said quickly, 'I hope you didn't wait for me. Am I late?' Emily Brent said, 'You're not the last. The general isn't here yet.' They sat around the table. Rogers addressed Miss Brent. 'Will you begin, madam, or will you wait?' Vera said, 'General MacArthur is sitting down by the sea. I don't expect he would hear the gong there anyway.' She hesitated. 'He's a little vague today, I think.' Rogers said quickly, 'I will go down and inform him luncheon is ready.' Dr. Armstrong jumped up. 'I'll go,' he said. 'You others start lunch.' He left the room. Behind him he heard Roger's voice. 'Will you take cold tongue or cold ham, madam?' The 5 people sitting round the table seemed to find conversation difficult. Outside, sudden gusts of wind came up and died away. Vera shivered a little and said, 'There is a storm coming.' Bloor made a contribution to the discourse. He said conversationally, 'There was an old fellow in the train from Plymouth yesterday. He kept saying a storm was coming. Wonderful how they know weather, these old salts.' Rogers went round the table collecting the meat plates. Suddenly, with the plates held in his hands, he stopped. He said in an odd, scared voice, 'There's somebody running.' They could all hear it, running feet along the terrace. And that minute they knew without being told. As by common accord, they all rose to their feet. They stood looking towards the door. Dr. Armstrong appeared, his breath coming fast. He said, 'General MacArthur, dead!' The word burst from Vera explosively. Armstrong said, 'Yes, he's dead.' There was a pause, a long pause. 7 people looked at each other and could find no words to say. The storm broke just as the old man's body was borne in through the door. The others were standing in the hall. There was a sudden hiss and roar as the rain came down. As Bloor and Armstrong passed up the stairs with their burden, Vera Claythorne turned suddenly and went into the deserted dining room. It was as they had left it. The sweet course stood ready on the sideboard untasted. Vera went up to the table. She was there a minute or two later when Rogers came softly into the room. He started when he saw her. Then his eyes asked a question. He said, "Oh, miss, I just came to see." In a loud, harsh voice that surprised even herself, Vera said, "You're quite right, Rogers. Look for yourself." There are only 7.